All right, all right, all right. Welcome into Toilets to Titles. This is episode number 140. This is 2023 NFL draft discussion because it is never too early, as my man Nino knows. We've been diving in, working on a little project ourselves for the Toilets to Titles website, toiletstotitles.com, and we have been lucky enough to land Dane Brugler at DP Brugler of theathletic.com, a very, very busy man. Dane, we're happy to have you. How are you doing this evening?
No, the pleasure is mine. I appreciate you guys having me on. You're right. It's never too early to talk draft, so I'm really excited to do this with you guys.
Man, and I'm a fanboy. So every now and then we have a bunch of guests, throughout the off season. We work on team by team breakdowns, and the community's great. The NFL community, the fantasy community, we get a lot of people who write for certain websites. For teams, I had Kyle Yeomans on, so it's a lot of fun getting people on that I watch and I listen to. And Dane, back when you were on the draft show, I think you stopped by a few times this year, and then I follow your work at the Athletic, so I am really looking forward to talking to you this evening. What have you been like going into the 2023 season? What is the main storyline? Like, what are you most looking forward to, going into scouting the players this year?
Well, I think we have to figure out these quarterbacks, and anything was going to be an upgrade over the quarterback class we just had in the 2022 class. One quarterback drafted in the first 73 picks, so anything would have been an upgrade. But this quarterback class is going to be a lot of fun, and now it's all about figuring these guys out. How many first rounders are we going to have? How many top 10 picks at the position are we going to have? And so, is a guy like Will Levis, can he ascend to being a legitimate top 10 player in this draft? Is CJ Stroud, based off of what he did last year, can he build upon that and, really establish himself as a no-brainer top 5 pick, number 1 overall consideration type of guy? So, there's a lot of intrigue with these quarterbacks. I have to mention Bryce Young, of course. The size concerns aren't going to go away, but, how can he overcome those size concerns? So I think it starts with the quarterbacks, and then from there, really it's the defensive line. That's the strength of this draft. Defensive ends, pass rushers, edge rushers, and then on the interior with the defensive tackles. And then on the flip side, the offensive line just does not look like a strong year for those guys. And so, and that's usually a position where guys don't just emerge out of nowhere. Usually we have a beat on who these offensive linemen are going to be. So, can we, find some of these guys that maybe are a little bit underrated, or maybe some of these late bloomers, guys that deserve to be first round picks, because we're going to have a couple offensive tackles in the first round. History tells us that in the last 32 years, 31 times we've had multiple offensive tackles drafted in the first round. So history tells us it's going to happen. We just have to find who those guys are.
Excellent. So I do want to get into the quarterbacks. My man Nino here at Nino Brown _T2T, big Will Levis fan. He talks my ear off, sends me clips. He loves the guy. So I do want to get into quarterbacks. But you touched on offensive linemen, and Alex Leatherwood was released today. So we're going to go back, a few draft classes. What are your thoughts on the development of Alex Leatherwood, maybe where he was drafted as opposed to where you believe he should have been drafted? And is there still a shot you think he catches on?
He'll get another shot. There's no doubt about that. It's just a matter of, okay, what is he going to do with that shot? I think that he was always, I think, a better guard, in my opinion. I thought he did a nice job at tackle at college at Alabama. I remember watching him at the Senior Bowl, watching him take live reps, one-on-ones, and did a nice job at tackle. But his skill set was always better pushing inside to guard. But even there, he struggled with the Raiders. And this is just a classic change of scenery is going to help him. His NFL career is not done, but obviously it is not going the way the Raiders planned or hoped. And I mean, the track record of draft picks in the John Gruden, Mike Mayock era is not good. And, it's really tough. And a guy like Alex Leatherwood, not to really harp on him, but they passed on Christian Darrisaw to take Alex Leatherwood. And Christian Darrisaw, we'll see what he looks like this year. The Vikings are really excited about him and what he's going to be potentially as their franchise left tackle. We'll see how he does this year. But, to pass on a guy like Darrisaw to take Leatherwood was a head scratcher at the time, and even more so now. So we'll see where he lands. He'll get that second shot, and it's just a matter of what he does with it.
I think Belichick's going to end up finding a way to get him, turning him into an all-pro offensive lineman. We don't know. Or the Cowboys.
Tampa needs it.
Yeah. I mean, moving back to guard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing for him. I think, and they tried that in Vegas, and it didn't work. But this is going to be something where a fresh team, new coaching, I think it's really going to help him.
All right, so now we can get into quarterback. So I see, again, theathletic.com, Campy's in the chat. My man Andrew Campy, he said the only reason he subscribed to. There's tons. I listen to the podcast, The Athletic. But your content on there is absolutely phenomenal. It's worth subscribing. So I'm looking at your top 50, and you got 3 quarterbacks in the top 11. You got 2 top 5, and you got Will Levis at 11. Talk to us about these quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I think CJ Stroud's the top guy for me right now as we go into the season. For what he did last year as a redshirt freshman, getting better and better with each game, and we saw it in the opener against Minnesota, and then in week 2 against Oregon, where you could see the talent, and it's just a matter of consistency. And by the end of the year in the Rose Bowl, I mean, he was lights out. And, we could say, oh, he's going to lose Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. He didn't have either of those guys in the Rose Bowl, and he did just fine. And the wide receiver depth chart at Ohio State is just bonkers. Yes, Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to be an early pick next April. He started out, I think, 16 or 17 on my top 50. He's a really good player. Marvin Harrison Jr., if he were eligible, he might be the top receiver in the next year's draft. He is that good as a sophomore. They've got a couple other guys on that roster that are going to be future NFL players. So Ohio State is going to be humming on offense. It's going to be a lot of fun watching that opener Saturday night against Notre Dame. Notre Dame's got some players on defense, and so that should be a pretty good contest. We'll see how it goes. But CJ Stroud's got all the ability, the way he can layer throws, his accuracy, his pacing. One thing I really want to see from him this year is just utilizing that mobility a little bit more. He's not a big-time athlete by any means, but there are times where he's leaving a little meat on the bone because, to his credit, his eyes are downfield. He wants to be a pocket passer, but he needs to be smart. He needs to be able to use his legs, extend plays. If the yards are there, take them. And so it's just part of his maturation. And so this year will be – last year was all about just getting better every week. This year is going to be about, from an evaluating perspective, trying to figure out his ceiling. How good can C.J. Stroud be? What is his ceiling at the next level? I think that's what scouts are trying to figure out this year. Bryce Young right behind him. If Bryce Young were in a bigger body, I think he'd be maybe competing to be number 1 on this list. I mean, his poise and processing are just off the charts. He's so much fun to watch from that perspective, that the mental part of the game. Go ahead, blitz him. He's going to know what to do with the football. Go ahead, try to mix him up. He's going to understand what he needs to do out there. So he's a problem solver. And that's why I love Bryce Young so much, even though he is 5'11", even though he is under 200 pounds. That's a complete outlier. This isn't Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's thick. Russell Wilson, he's a very broad player, even though he's short. So these guys are short, but not small. Bryce Young is short and small, and so very much an outlier compared to a lot of these other top quarterbacks. And so it'll be interesting to see throughout the process certain teams that maybe overlooked that, certain teams that are just out because of that. It'll be an interesting talking point that won't be going away anytime soon. And then the other quarterback you mentioned, Will Levis from Kentucky, a Penn State transfer, was a first-year starter last year for Kentucky, and was outstanding. He was a big reason why Kentucky won double-digit games. Only 3 teams in the SEC won double-digit games last year, and Will Levis was a big reason Kentucky was able to do that and be productive. It's going to be a little tougher this year. He loses Liam Cohen, goes to be the offensive coordinator with the Rams. But Rick Scangarello's got an NFL background, coming in to be the play caller. So there's a lot to watch with Kentucky and Will Levis. He's kind of the prototype. You look at him, he's big, he's built. The play strength is outstanding. The athleticism is off the charts. And this might be kind of like back in 2012 when we were talking about Andrew Luck and RG3. That's CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. And then you still have Ryan Tannehill with a top 10 pick. That could be Will Levis this year. Still a top 10 pick, still goes on to be a productive NFL starter.
Love it. What do you think of Hendon Hooker?
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't come out last year. He's an older player from Tennessee, Virginia Tech transfer. He's got a really smooth stroke, and the coaches talk really highly about him at Tennessee. Thought he would come out last year, thought he was going to be a draft pick. He decides to go back. And so he's an older player, but you see that maturity in the way he plays. And I think after Will Levis, it's kind of wide open. Who's going to be that next senior quarterback drafted? Personally, I really like Aiden O'Connell from Purdue. He's, in my opinion, he's going to start as the favorite to be that next quarterback off the board. But Hendon Hooker is right there in that mix. Devin Leary from NC State, Phil Dracovic from Boston College. There's a couple names in there that are really interesting, and Hooker is one of them.
I was watching. So my thing is safeties. I don't claim to be okay at watching quarterbacks, wide receivers. I coach wide receivers. I played wide receivers. I coach defensive backs. I played the position. So wide receivers and safeties are usually what I try to stick to. But I've had my misses. I loved Kelvin Harmon. I was a huge Kelvin Harmon guy. I talk about it all the time. Yeah. Didn't really pan out. I love Laviska Shenault. that didn't really pan out. But I was watching the safeties of Alabama, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. But Hendon Hooker, Tennessee versus Alabama, I was very impressed with his poise, his accuracy, big time throws. So, and then doing it against, I mean, the game doesn't look close. It was 24-52, but Alabama put up 28 points in the fourth quarter. Up until that point, it was a pretty good ball game. So that kid definitely impressed me. So let's move on to running backs. All right. So I think, last year, I wouldn't say was an excellent running back class. Prior to that, we had Najee Harris, but this year, it looks like there's definitely some big names. We're hearing Bijan Robinson being compared to, when Saquon Barkley came out. Jahmyr Gibbs transfers to Alabama. We got Zach Evans transferring to Ole Miss. Devon Mccain, who was Isaiah Spiller's backup, but monster production last year. And then we got Sean Tucker out there in Syracuse. So why don't you kind of lay out the landscape of the running back class this year and let us know what you think about him?
Yeah, I love Bijan Robinson. How could you not? This guy, his ability to make guys miss is really impressive. And he does it in so many different ways. He's got that unique mix of both elusiveness, but then also power. So he can accelerate in a blink. He's got those twitchy reflexes in his lower body, so he could be a one-cut maestro, break ankles with those sharp cuts. But he also has a physicality to them, to his runs. A powerful build, keeps his balance through contact. Routinely makes that first guy miss. And then he's a nightmare for if you're a safety coming downhill, running the alley. You don't want to see this guy because he can set you up with a move or he can go right through you. So consistently puts safeties in conflict. It's just a chore for defenders to bring him down. And I think, he's not scheme specific. You want to run zone. In that offense at Texas with Coach Sark, it's a zone heavy scheme, but I think he can do a little bit of everything. And I think we're going to talk a lot of what we're saying about Bijan Robinson. I think is kind of copy and paste what we said about Ezekiel Elliott when he's coming out of Ohio State. He can do a lot in terms of catching the ball out of the backfield, can make guys miss, but also has some power to him. I think there's a lot of parallels there. My second running back for me personally is Zach Evans, TCU transfer now at Ole Miss. That offense, it's pretty simple. Lane Kiffin, his plan, get the ball in the best player on offense. And I think that's going to be Zach Evans. He is a really fun player. Another guy that safeties don't want to see because, he is a guy that once he gets to the open field, he can do some damage. And so the athleticism he brings is a lot of fun. You mentioned this running back class, how, we haven't had a running back in the first round. We didn't have one last year. The year before, you're right, we had Etienne and Najee Harris. But there's a good chance we get back to, running backs in the top 20, top 25 with guys like Bijan Robinson, like Zach Evans. It's a really interesting class that, even some of these seniors are interesting. I'm the senior that I'm most intrigued with is Kenny McIntosh at Georgia, who, of course, was backseat to James Cook last year, Zamir White. But there's a lot of buzz in the scouting community about what McIntosh can be for that offense. We know Georgia, they want to establish the ground game, and that's a big part of their identity. So eager to see him going up against Oregon this weekend and Noah Sewell in that defense. So that should be a lot of fun.
Man, how great is it that we actually get to watch this stuff? Like, we've been talking about, draft prospects kind of in-house, for the last few weeks, but then just fantasy as far as the NFL goes, like that's coming down the pipe in 2 weeks. Nino's got a show with another guy we work with, Jared Gray, Friday nights, P2P from the Pots to the Playoffs. So they've been talking about college football. So it's very exciting that we can finally get to this stuff's going to play out. It's all going to happen.
There's no doubt. And I'm even more excited for the next Monday, for the following Monday, when the tape comes in. I mean, that's how sick I am. The live games are great, but when the tape comes and hits my system, that's there's nothing better than that. I've been just dying for new tape, and so this past weekend, a little bit of college football, that was kind of the appetizer. But yeah, this weekend, 5 straight days of games? It's going to be a lot of fun.
How much time do you think you spend a week in season breaking down tape?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. It's hard to even put a number on that. I mean, I have to limit it at some point because I've got to write about these guys. I've got to there's a lot of things going on, family, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's from the moment I put my kids on the bus at 8 a.m. It's just I'm diving in, and it's at night as soon as I put my kids down. About 7 or 8, I'm diving in. And so there's a lot of these players that I need to go through, to get that draft guide done. I'm going through thousands and thousands of players to get an idea of who they are. And so there's a lot of tape that needs to be watched. And that's the lifeblood of this business is the tape. And so there's a lot of other stuff going on, talking to people, gathering information, looking at the metrics, all these things. But the tape, it will always be the lifeblood of scouting.
And the draft report you're talking about is the Beast.
Yeah.
So the Beast is how long you've been doing the Beast for? Can you give everybody who's listening at home a little idea of what exactly that is and when next year? I mean, if they want right now, they can go look at last year. So tell them where it is and what it's all about.
Well, I mean, I really put a lot of pride in it being the most comprehensive draft guide you can get. If you want to know, all the everything you want to know about a player, it's going to be in there. Everything from his pro day information, combine information, all the background. I work really hard to get all the background information. Where he grew up, what's his family life like, how many sports did he play in high school? I mean, all these things. I mean, there's no detail that's too small. All these things are puzzle pieces. So you need to find all these puzzle pieces, put them together, and it's going to give you a more accurate picture of who this player is. And then, of course, the analysis of what we're seeing on tape, strengths, weaknesses, what he projects to at the next level. It's something that, like I said, I really strive for it to be the most comprehensive guide out there, and it's included with your athletic subscription. So if you want to get an athletic subscription, I promise you will not be disappointed. If you like the NFL draft at all, you will really, really enjoy this thing. It's a PDF document that'll be available. I usually shoot for the first week in April, try to, 3 weeks before the draft. But it's as long as people keep enjoying it, I'm going to keep doing it. And it just grows in popularity every year, which has been just awesome and a blessing to see.
Man, I have 4 tabs pulled up on my computer right now from theathletic.com, just different stuff you've been working on. And that's not just because you were coming on the show. I've been looking at this stuff because we're working on a project ourselves. Last year with the Beast, how many players that were drafted did you not have in the Beast?
Oh no, everyone is in there.
Everybody.
I've been in maybe 3 or 4 years straight where if he's been drafted, his name and information is in the draft guide. And so there have been a few players in the past that have I missed for one reason or another. And that's my goal every year is look under every rock, talk to every scout I can, and make sure that there is not a single player that is drafted who is not in there. And it's been fun this time of year when you're watching preseason and you're seeing some of these guys, some of these rookies, and going back to the draft guide and seeing, okay, what did he run at his 40 or at his pro day? What was his 40-yard dash? And just kind of getting this information. And I get a lot of responses from people how, they use the draft guide 4 years from 4 years ago, when their team signs someone new. Oh, let's go back to the draft guide, see what did we think of him coming out of college? What does workouts look like? All that kind of thing. So it's something that is a resource and something that I'm very, very proud of.
Excellent. All right, I got 3 questions for you before we let you go. We got Brad Bolt in here in the comments. He wants to know who is the 2023 version of Cole Strange, if there is one. Yeah,
I didn't know Cole Strange was going to be Cole Strange. Being a first-round pick like that was certainly a surprise. To me, the top small school player in this draft at this point in the process is Tucker Kraft, the South Dakota State tight end. He's a stud. I mean, he's only a redshirt junior. I think there's a good chance he comes out. And if he does, I think he has a chance to maybe even get as high as the first round. He is that good of a player. So, if we're looking at maybe who's a small schooler that could go in the first round, I don't know that any of the seniors, none of the seniors, quote unquote, small school seniors have blown me away from the FCS level. Maybe that'll change as we go throughout the season. But redshirt junior, Tucker Kraft from South Dakota State, make sure you keep an eye on that name.
All right, excellent. I just wrote that down so I could go out. Yeah, so I could check them out. All right, my final two questions for you. Keishan Bootay versus Jackson Smith Njigba. I know you got JSN, I think 3 spots below Bootay, but break them down for us.
Yeah, and this is going to be a big bounce back year for Bootay. He had that. He's so good as a freshman. Wasn't sure what to expect from LSU with Jamar Chase, opting out and all that. Bootay comes in and just is outstanding as a true freshman. Last year, it was up and down. He has the injury, and then there was a little bit of some friction with the new coaching staff. But here we are getting ready for the opening week in college football, and he was given or awarded the number 7 jersey as the best player on that team. It seems like there's been a big maturation from him, and so now I want to see it back on the field. And the Jaden Daniels, the Arizona State transfer, now a quarterback. What's that going to look like? So there's a lot of questions with this LSU offense. But I think Keishan Bootay, he's the one receiver. Like I don't think any of these receivers are necessarily top 10 slam dunks like Jamar Chase was, like some of these other receivers. I thought Garrett Wilson was that type of guy. I don't think any of these players are that, but Bootay might be the closest thing. And then with Jackson Smith Njigba, how electric was he in the Rose Bowl? It's so much fun to watch. He's a natural. CJ Stroud, think about this. CJ Stroud last year played with the 10th and 11th overall picks with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. He calls Smith Njigba the best route runner he's ever played with. So, that says something about a guy that just finished his sophomore year. He's a graduate level route runner, and it's really impressive to watch. And you know what? He needs to be, because he's not an elite athlete. He's probably going to run in the mid 4.5s in the 40-yard dash. And that's something that will hurt him throughout the process. But he is just an easy guy to appreciate because he gets open and he makes things happen. And so now with CJ Stroud another year older, Smith Njigba another year older, it's going to be fun to watch these guys, the chemistry that they have. That Ohio State offense is going to put up a lot of points. And so right now I'm going to lean Bootay as the better talent, but the more polished player is definitely the guy in Columbus.
Sounds like a little bit like Derek Stingley. The way you're discussing Keishan Bootay,
right.
some similarities. I don't know if he had any issues with the coaching staff, but just coming out early on and just balling out. But you know what they all did? It was like the perfect recipe for success their freshman year. They both, they all were monsters, and they've come into the NFL and they've played pretty damn well. Outside of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who the dude is playing in the NFL and he's receiving reps and he's looked good, but he's really been the only guy who hasn't really lived up to the hype. Joe Burrow, lights out, Super Bowl year 2. All right, my final question for you. This is a position I love scouting. I love those guys who are versatile, the Swiss Army knives. So you got Brian Branch as one of your, I think he's your top 2. He's number 2 or number 3 safety. And I want to talk about Brian Branch versus Malachi Moore.
Yeah, and Malachi Moore, he really jumped out as a true freshman, and then it's almost like he took a step back last year. He had more touchdowns allowed than he did plays on the ball last year. That's not what you want to see at safety. He needs to be a little more consistent as a tackler. The reason I really appreciate Brian Branch is because he can do everything. And I've got a soft spot for those safeties that can. It doesn't matter where you line them up. You want to play corner, he could do it. Nickel, he can do it. Play in the post, he can do it. Play towards the box, he can do it. He has, I think, the full skill set. He plays that star position for Nick Saban's defense, where it's a lot of nickel. It's you're going to face the slot receiver. You're going to go up against big tight ends. He can do all of that, and they trust him to go out there and make plays. So I'm a big fan of Brian Branch. And that Alabama secondary, especially that safety position, is just loaded. That Jordan Battle is going to be one of the probably first senior safeties drafted somewhere in the 2nd to 4th round, most likely. So that Alabama defense loaded once. I mean, we have to mention Will Anderson, right? We can't talk about the draft without mentioning Will Anderson, one of the best players I've ever scouted. So that Alabama defense is going to be appointment viewing for evaluators once again.
Nino was telling me, is that dude? Is his name Kool-Aid? Is he a defensive back for Alabama?
Yeah, true sophomore. So not eligible yet, but yeah, Kool-Aid McKinstry, 6'1", 190, big. He's a guy that he might be keeping Eli Ricks, the LSU transfer, who I know a lot of people are high on. Might be keeping him on the bench, or at least as a backup, because how good he is. So it'll be interesting how that secondary works itself out.
I got a guy in Memphis that I really like. That's a safety, Quentin Johnson.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on him? He had 100 tackles last year.
Yep.
I think it was close to 60 solo. So.
Yeah, no, he was really productive. And Memphis, you think that defense is not really producing a lot of big time guys, but I liked him. He's not the biggest player. I mean, I thought maybe around 200 pounds, right? Right. But I mean, I think he has length to him. I was really impressed with that. I thought he was a smart player because he's not the fastest. I mean, I would, if I had to guess, he's probably going to run in the 4.6s. So I think that might hurt him a little bit, not being a big guy, not having elite speed. But I think what really helps him is the instincts, the awareness. He understands what offense is trying to do. He can read, run, pass really quickly and react. So, no, I think I graded him as more of a day 3 type of player, but I can certainly understand, the optimism with him. He was a fun player to watch.
All right, Dane, we don't want to keep you any longer, man. This was action-packed. This is going to be a lot of stuff to kind of unwrap here, a lot of information in this part of the show with you. So we appreciate you coming on. Good luck receiving all that tape, breaking down that film. Looking forward to draft season. Hopefully things work out and I don't have to worry about the Cowboys thinking about draft season until like January or February. But good luck to you this year, Dane.
No, I appreciate it. Anytime, guys.
Take care. All right, man. That was huge,
man.
So we have all this content. We have a list of we'll break that. We'll talk about what we're doing, but man, we just bring up names, just like that. He tells you what he's estimating he's going to run in the 40.
Yeah, that's crazy, and that guy's probably not, like he said, a day 3 safety. So that's probably somewhere in the teens in his rankings, and he was just like, oh yeah, I probably run 4.6, blah, blah, blah.
Just based upon film.
I mean,
that must be the good stuff he's watching, though, that film, not the stuff on YouTube.
I would love to get his film. Those all 22s are great.
Yeah, because we're on YouTube. So what we are working on, so what we're going to let everybody know. Before we get into all that stuff, let's go through some of the regular stuff that we wanted to get Dane in and out. He had somewhere else to be at 8:30 this evening, so I kind of cut through some of the regular intro stuff. But everybody who's listening, you can find us on the Twitter at Toilets to Titles. I'm on the Twitter at Coach Sheps. Nino is at Nino_Brown T2T, or is it Nino Brown _T2T? Just
Nino Brown.
Nino Brown _T2T. I usually have the help of the bubbles. I don't see the bubble in here. So at Nino Brown _T2T. Justin, who's in the background, is at Justin FF_. If you're watching on the YouTube, hit the like button, throw us a subscribe. We just hit 702 subscribers. So we are over the 700 mark, man, and we're pulling in on 1,000. And I think there's a chance we hit it this season. So pretty fired up. If you have Apple Podcasts, throw us a review. DM it to us if you want a good shot at getting into Frankenstank next year. Also, our Patreon is patreon.com/Toilets to Titles. The tier 1 is $3. It gets you into our Discord chat. So any fantasy football questions you have access to us 24/7. But what I think is at least the best value is $5, which is tier 2. It gets you early access to the waiver wire episodes that we record Monday night, immediately after Monday Night Football. Everybody from Toilets to Titles, we work together. We put a doc together for Joe, who's going to be recording the episodes. We get the episode recorded. We get it on the Patreon app like Tuesday at like 5 a.m. So you're prepared to make those waiver wire claims before everybody else, because in some leagues, it comes down to whoever claims it first. That's the person who's going to get it. So you want to get that. And also for the $5 tier, that gets you an invite to Frankenstein. So I'm telling you, tier 2, if you want to go above that, that's great. But if you want the value, it's tier 2. So Nino, why don't you tell me what your overall thoughts were on that part of the episode, talking to Dane, his process, and the players we heard about?
I mean, I was like a kid in a candy store right there. You know what I mean? I've been, for the past, we're going on episode 14. I mean, we're 13 episodes deep, P2P. So I've been diving in for about 3-4 months now. Film, breakdowns, analysis, everything. I've been going through it. That was just like me sitting back, feet up. I was enjoying. I could have listened to that man talk for another 3 hours. I till his voice was gone. It was phenomenal. And the fact that he's a Levis guy, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, that's a little boost. That's a boost for you right there. I love it. We're hearing Will Levis talk. So we're gonna have to talk to Shane. Because I guess
we need to talk to
him. we have a project. We're kind of working with draftcountdown.com. Shane's allowed us to use his top 150. We're using his top 150 at toiletsandtitles.com. We're using their top 150. And me, Nino, Joe Clark, we are working on doing write-ups for all the players in the top 150. And we are going to post them as hyperlinks. So you're going to be able to go to our website, toiletsandtitles.com, go into the NFL draft tab, see Shane's top 150. And then as we watch these players and we do a write-up, like I'll tell you, so I was working on Lou Nichols, Central Michigan, right? So he's in Shane's top 150. It's just a little blurb, where he went to school, what grade he's in, his age, his height, his weight, which is unofficial, his 2021 stats, which eventually will update after the season, the 2022 stats, any awards they won, some measurables, which that'll come up post-combine, the games we watch, pros, cons, overall thoughts. So you're going to be able to see that in all these players and see what we think. Now, are we in as in depth as Dane? No, no way. And I don't think I'm not cut from the same cloth as that dude. That dude's a monster, aka the Beast, right? He's putting the Beast out there. But you're going to be able to see at least what our opinions are of these players, because this stuff is fun. If you have fun studying this stuff, so we're working on this stuff. So we've been kind of in the lab trying to get this together, working with Campy. Hopefully we get this up on the site within the next few weeks. And while Dane was talking about Tucker Kraft, we have a list of additional players, because Dane, because Shane, he's got his top 150, which Will Levis isn't on. So we're gonna talk about him. So we're gonna have our additional players, and we're gonna break them down underneath draftcountdown.com's top 150. And then I'm sure eventually, when Shane updates his throughout the season, we'll throw those guys on there. Eventually, we're going to do a big board. We're going to do mock drafts. So all that good stuff. So what players on this list? I know you've had a chance. You've been really busy. You've seen some of these players. Who are you most looking forward to watching that you've kind of heard about that you haven't had a chance to watch?
All right. So I originally said something to you about a running back to take out a look out for from UMass, Elias Merriweather. 1,000 yards last year. Smaller guy, you know what I mean? I think he's 5'11", but he's 200 pounds. Good vision in and out of tackles. He's great. He's shoots the gap and goes. You know what I mean? And he can run, not run over linebackers, but he doesn't fall over first contact. So you know what I mean? He can get yards after contact. He's not going to go for 40, but he can work his way down to get another 6 or 7. He's the guy that I'm looking out for. Jared just actually sniped me in our college draft. Because he's like, I didn't even know about him until you brought him up.
Right.
So, that's another guy I'm looking at. I like the running back out of USC, Travis Dye.
Okay.
I feel like he's got they're stacked. They're like a little bit of like a mini Alabama on the offensive side. They're gonna be spread everywhere. They got Addison, they got Mario Williams. They also have Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice, which everybody's sleeping on. The kid is a monster, looking like a mini DK. So they're gonna be spreading that everywhere. Yeah, and they got another tight end there. I forget who they got off the top of my head. I can't think of it. But so they're gonna have the ball spread. So he's gonna have a lot of open lanes. He's fast and he can get to the edge to beat the linebacker. So if he gets to the outside, you're gonna see a lot of special things out of Travis Dye. So those are 2 guys that I'm really looking at.
And so I have a few. I've watched probably 12 or 13 guys right now, but I have my list So I haven't watched Bijan yet because I didn't want to start with Bijan Robinson. I've seen him, but I haven't watched him and broken it down. I didn't want to start with him because if he's the top dog, I don't want to be disappointed with everybody else. So I want to kind of start with the middle of the pack and work my way up. I'm weird, man. I have weird systems for everything.
No, that's legit, dude. Why? You know what I mean? Why are you going to eat the best flavor of the ice cream and then get to the bottom and it'd be the crappiest? So.
Bingo. So I'm excited. I haven't watched Kenny McIntosh. So after hearing Dane talk about him, I'm looking forward to see that. Alabama, I have some linebackers that I'm looking forward to. Henry Toe, I think that's how you pronounce his dude, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Reuben Foster. I don't think he not as violent, but the same, if you put their film next to each other, very similar build. They look the same in an Alabama uniform. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. You want to know a guy that's a
Reuben Foster type?
Go ahead.
Andre Carter.
Okay, where's he out of?
Army.
Okay. Army.
Yeah, absolute sicko. Sicko.
Really?
Yeah, he over
Dude,
100 tackles.
West Point's 30 minutes from me.
Dude, this dude is a monster. He's going in the draft. He's probably second round guy. Like he's a dog.
Stop. Is he on the
I'm
150 here?
I don't think so. And then that's another guy that I want.
I'm putting him on here, linebacker. let me so Reuben Carter is his name?
No, Andre Carter.
Okay, I'm sorry, Reuben. Andre Carter, Army.
Yes.
Boom. All right,
Only
when I was
Black Knights.
little, not little, when I was in high school, little, that's funny.
Little
we,
guy, little fella.
When we made it to the playoffs, the state playoffs, we got to go practice at West Point because it wasn't too far because we didn't have a turf field. We had a grass field. So they wanted us to have an opportunity to practice on turf. So we were prepared to go play. We ended up winning. But then the next week we got smoked by Ray Rice and company in the state quarterfinals. So it didn't matter that we practiced in West Point. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I got hit the hardest I ever got hit in my life.
Real quick, he's 6'7". Okay. 256.
Edge?
He had 41 linebacker, 41 tackles, 17 tackles for loss, 14 and a half sacks, and a pick. And 4 forced fumbles.
He's probably like, do they run a 3-4?
Yeah.
That sounds like an overhang, like an outside.
Yeah, he's got the hybrid.
Back.
Yeah, he's got that hybrid look. But yeah, he's a 6'7", 256, just straight monster.
That's a Patriot.
Yeah,
the Patriots they love those lines. Who was the dude they had that they got from the Ravens? That was like, no, there was another dude like 10 years ago who played like safety, linebacker, defensive end. They like played him everywhere. Dude, he was like, maybe he went from the Patriots to the Ravens. I don't know. They played him everywhere.
Yeah, he was a Swiss Army.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like you thought the dude was just a linebacker, and Justin's in the background probably throwing up because he hates when I gas up Bill Belichick. But all right, let's so Quentin Johnson, TCU. That's a wide receiver I haven't watched yet. I'm looking forward to if you have a chance to see him.
A little bit. We broke down. Like we said, we went through all the divisions. I just worry about him. Who's throwing him the ball? Okay, right. I know quarterback's gonna get him. They're gonna find the best play. Yeah, it's true, but he's gonna be throwing double. But he's tall, so he can high point the ball. Like
in that conference, man. Right. He'll be you should be able to find space.
I was gonna say he's gonna be like a man among boys in that conference. Okay, right. But they need consistent quarterback play, and I feel like last year he didn't get that, so his numbers took a hit. He loses Zach Evans, so now everybody's looking at you. You are literally the neon sign on that line. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously he's a premier athlete. He's gonna find a way to get open, but can he beat the double? Can he beat the high safety over the top? So we'll see what happens. I gotta go out look at Lobb loves him. John Lobb is a big fan of him. So see what happens.
Yeah. John Lobb, dude, you got to follow the crumbs that he leaves. Like he lets you know when a guy's going to be a dude, and you got to believe there. Get him, guys. Yeah, what's up, Jared? Jared, we need to bring him in. We need to bring in from the bullpen some P2P action.
Where you at?
Yeah, I like Tank Bigsby. He's not in Dane's top 50. He's not in his top 5 running backs, but I like him. He's a smaller guy, so but he runs hard, man. Let me pull up my write-up because I actually did do one on Tank Bigsby. I'm not like Dane. I can't just dude, I've watched 13 players. It takes me a few minutes to get back to my thoughts and opinions on a player. So what I have for him. So he had 13 games last year, ran for 1,099 yards, 4.9 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns, only 184 receiving yards, 21 receptions. But like for his size, it says he's 6'2", 208, but I bet he's closer to 200. I wouldn't be surprised.
I was gonna say like 203,
5'10". I wouldn't be surprised if he's 5'10", and maybe he just looks small because he's playing in the SEC and he's around some monsters. But he's pretty well put together. But he'll run hard between the tackles. Like he runs like a big back. He's got some twitch to him, but he runs like a big back. He loves to go downhill. He doesn't shy away from all the touches they give him. Like he's getting a lot of attention in that offense. He doesn't shy away from it. I love how he stays behind his pads. He runs hard. He's got good patience, good vision. He kind of waits for the crease to develop. He hits it. And he takes what he can get. That, to me, that's a running back that translates. So coaches are going to love that. Offensive linemen, like grinders like that, like I'd put him in the class of a grinder. He doesn't look like a grinder, but when you watch his film, he plays like a grinder. And that's the type of player that, like, offensive linemen, they love to block for a guy like that. So,
and he's got hands.
Yeah.
He had like 20-something receptions both years. Now, everything you described reminds me of a man out of the ACC in Syracuse.
Tucker?
Yes.
Talk about
I feel they're a similar build. I really don't know why he didn't transfer. I thought, like, last year when everybody was hitting the portal, before Gibbs went, tell me that guy's not a perfect guy for Saban. Right? Big guy, runs hard. You know what I mean? Not upright all the way. You know what I mean? He knows how to get his shoulder down, kind of like if you shrunk Brandon Jacobs down, like a guy like that, sturdy, but he can run you over. Yep. You know what I mean? He's not twitchy, you know, but he can plant his foot and he can make a cut and go. And he's not indecisive. He doesn't hesitate. Wherever he's going, he's going. Exactly, Jared. I know he's your guy, but I won't do you wrong, buddy. He 1,000 yards. He got 1,000 yards. Again, it's like this guy gets the job done. At 5'10", 210. Like, obviously, I don't think he's 210. He's probably 205. I'm hoping the 5'10's right.
He looks
5'9".
thicker. He looks thicker than Bigsby, I think. He carries his weight a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, 1,500 yards, right?
Yeah. And he's a track star too, man.
He ran a sub 10.
Yeah. He has
100 meters.
Elite speed. Like that dude flies.
Yeah, I need to see. What I need to see is if it's that instant speed. All right, what's that 40 time? Are you 4.49? Are you 4.43? Are you 4.5? You know, where are you at? Because sub 1,000 meters, I want to see you 4.4 low.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
He's developing that. Like, so he's not just a kid who runs fast, who has track speed. He's a track athlete. Like, he runs track. I believe he's a 2-sport athlete at Syracuse. So correct. He's learning. Like, you should come to the combine and be prepared, you know, how to run it, how to come out the gate. So he should be taught. Like, a lot of these guys, they go to these places like a month before the combine and they train, but this dude's training for the 40, probably like day in and day out during track.
Yeah. He sleeps, he eats, sleeps, you know, and breathes that.
Go ahead.
He's upright. You know what I mean? That he runs upright because he's a track guy. If he could just tweak it a little bit, you know, when you run upright, it's kind of like resisting against the wind. So
and also you have more of a target area for guys to get you. So guys, you know, with him, you know, he's got good feet. Like he has like eyes in the side of his head. He knows how at the last second to kind of avoid that contact. But at the next level, if you're that high, they're going to find a way to get you. You know what I mean? You can't just have quick feet. You got to be small, you know, in those creases, or you got to try to at least get smaller, not small, but smaller target area. But just the pass blocking with him, he's got to like figure it out, you know, how you know, like it's a little sloppy, but that also, like, the willingness is there, and that's the coach's job. Because we're watching these kids. He's a junior. He's not a senior. Like, he's going to be a junior.
He's eligible.
But you know, this is pre. So if he goes into the NFL draft last year, we're talking about him before his last season as a college player. So he has time to develop. Yeah.
And that could be a year where he sits in the NFL, you know. But a guy that's terrible at pass blocking that needs to fix that to get better is my guy, Devon Mccain. Okay. He can't pass block to save his life. But that's also because he's 5'8 3/4.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think on passing downs, I think they're going to move him outside because we saw him do a lot of that.
He can make up for bad quarterback play, okay? I'm not knocking Justin Fields, but if you had a guy like that with Justin Fields, for them errant passes, he would literally make Fields or Jalen Hurts look like gold. He's unbelievable. I said it to you, beginning of the draft process last year, that Mccain was better than Spiller last season in a smaller package. And if you go look at the stats, all of his stats compared, if you were to drag his stats out to what numbers Spiller's had for on carries and games, they play the same amount of games, but targets and attempts, Mccain beats him everywhere. Yeah, everywhere.
He's another guy who's a track athlete. Like he has elite speed, but he's more twitched up.
He's definitely twitchy. He's definitely a twitchy guy. He's got sweet feet, like John likes to say. Sweet feet gets in and out of the hole, and he's one cut go. But when he goes, it's 4.28 40 right off the gut. Like there's no like, take me a little bit like a horse to get up and go. He hits that cut and goes. You better have speed, or he's gone.
Yeah. And he kind of reminds me of like when DeAnthony Thomas, like I think he's a better
Yeah.
college player than DeAnthony Thomas, but kind of, 5'9". I think that's
Yeah.
generous.
Shifty.
He's probably 5'8". One of the guys like that, or Oregon had a bunch of
Sproles.
backs like that.
Like
Yeah,
a Darren Sproles.
Yeah. Maybe not as strong, but Darren's, but like a kind of a combination, stronger than DeAnthony Thomas, not as strong as Sproles, like somewhere right in the middle. Yeah. And I think like if he can't pass, like he was willing to pass block. He tried. Now in the NFL at that size, he's going to get run over, but he's going to pause you for a second. But a smart offensive coordinator, I forget what film it was when they were putting him outside, but it was LSU. When they were playing against LSU, they lined him up outside and he was running comebacks. He ran a decent whip route, like, which is not terrible. Like he didn't drift at all on a whip route. You want to see the wide receiver come in and come straight on the line he's breaking on. You don't want to see him come closer to the quarterback. You don't want to see him drift further than the quarterback, because that's going to give the defensive back a chance to get on his hip and regain the yardage he lost. And he went right down the line, which to me just tells me, I don't think that was coincidence. I think he actually the dude knows what he's doing. So
he's got for a running back, he got crisp routes for a running back.
Yeah. And he knows the nuances of them. So I was impressed. So that's definitely a guy. Kane is a guy who people are going to be excited about in our community. Fantasy football guys, because he's going to be on the field. He's going to get touches. You're going to try to find a way. He'll be exciting at the combine for sure. How about Jerkovich? I saw your hands go up when they were talking about the Boston College quarterbacks. Tell us about him.
All right. So, last year he got injured, but prior to him getting injured, Boston College looked really, really good. They have Zay Flowers as well on the team. So that's his guy. All right. Jerkovich, I don't know if he's a day one pick, maybe back end round 2 or 3 quarterback. But he threw 2020. He threw for 2,500 yards. Last year, like I said, he only played 6 games. He only threw for about 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 picks. But he's got a squad, like I said. Zay Flowers is a top 20 wide receiver, in my opinion. He's got Phil Garrow III as a running back, who's people are sleeping on. Another guy I want you to check out, Coach. Write him down. Phil Garrow III. He's a dog.
How do you pronounce that?
Garwo. Garwo.
It's hard sometimes to get through the Boston GRW.
I'm sorry. That's the second time. I've been with you guys for a long time now, a couple months, and that's the second time I got called out on the accent.
Man, at least mine isn't the only one now. I get it. I get it at times, man. So, all right, Phil Garrow. I like it. Like Goro.
Nice. Yeah.
Goro. Yeah. I dig it.
Yeah.
I got it written down.
They got a squad. I think that they can make a run in the ACC. I don't know if they can win it, but they can be a team that could disrupt people's chances, and they could be right in there, maybe a win or 2 out from getting in that championship game.
So we might make it. It's Boston College, Clemson, October 8th, right? So there's a chance.
I'm trying to get you there.
It's the day after my anniversary, my 10th anniversary. So I'm trying to as well, but I gotta sneak the question in there. Go ahead.
So if you can't, all right, I got another game for you that's probably half the price.
Okay.
Army at UMass.
I'll take the bus.
All right.
I'll come up there with Army.
Yeah, that's like later in the year. I believe it's in November. So
okay. All right, we'll do one or the other. We'll do one or the other. All right, October 8th or November, because my son, like, that's my wild card. Like, he's interested. So I can say, Emmett wants to go too, and Emmett's going to want to meet the boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
that's what I like to hear.
for sure. So we're going to make that happen. In the private comments, I was smiling when you were talking about Jerkovich, because Justin said he can't stop picturing a tiny Brandon Jacobs running.
I know, I saw it too.
If any of you watch What We Do in the Shadows, which I think is absolutely phenomenal, like that show is absolutely phenomenal. There's a character called Colin Robinson who, spoiler alert, if you watch What We Do in the Shadows and you're not caught up yet, cut this off, fast forward for 3 minutes. Colin Robinson basically dies. They think he's dead, but he's not dead. And he comes back as like a baby. So now he's like the tiny Mr. So it's a tiny grown man, and he's running around their house, and he's a kid, but like he's got the man's. It's absolutely hilarious. So when Justin commented on that, tiny Brandon Jacobs, that's what I was thinking of.
All right, so you brought it up to Dane, and I'm going to bring it up to you because you already know where I stand. I think this dude is a freak, obviously, broke all the records with 2 guys going top 11 in the draft as wide receivers. JSN or Bootay? I know you like Bootay, but sell him to me if that's your guy.
Man, I think I'm going JSN. To be honest, I like Bootay, I do, but I think JSN is more versatile. I think Bootay, if you put him in an NFL offense where there's like, if you give him to the Cowboys, and I'm sorry, you guys are probably sick of hearing this, and I try to be fair and even, but this is just for an example like this just worked out. If you got CeeDee Lamb and then you go and you bring Keishan Bootay, ceiling's huge because
he's going to the Bears.
That's the problem. I don't
Yeah.
think he's going to be as sick. So if you put JSN, if you put Smith-Njigba somewhere where he was the one, I think he's going to be okay regardless. As long as the quarterback's decent. And I'm not saying Keishan Bootay isn't talented enough to be okay regardless, but I just think he'll be better served if you put him in offense with an elite 1. He could be the elite 2. He could take the top off the defense. Like he's not going to be asked to move the chains. I think JSN can move the chains regularly, get more targets.
Anyway, outside, inside, run deep routes. He runs better routes than Jerry Jeudy, and everybody fell in love with Jerry.
I love you, dude. When I fell in love with Jerry Jeudy, his freshman year, he was still a senior in high school. He was playing in the Alabama spring game, and he was absolutely annihilating people. If you can go to YouTube, find that film, dude.
He made one route. He literally cut 2 cornerbacks, like broke ankles.
Yeah,
and then was going up the sideline.
Dude, as like a senior in high school in Alabama versus Alabama. So like, the dude can do it. He hasn't done it yet, but sometimes, like when they play an elite level for such a long time, then, who knows what the issue is, but he had the chops. He's still got the chops. He's just got to pull it together. He's got to stop dropping balls.
I mean, I just watched him on I Am Athlete. He was breaking down routes with Brandon Marshall, and just the way he talks and like how he's looking at hand movements to beat a guy who presses and what he's going to do for a guy that plays back deep and how he's going to sell him on a 5-step. It was just like, where is that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Crazy.
So part of my process, I'm a collector. So I love to watch NFL prospects, but then I also like to buy their cards. One of the things I like to do for real, like I like to find the guys that not everyone's super high on. Like I bought a Patrick Mahomes card his rookie year, I bought it for $80, sold it for $1,100 the next year. Woo. Now, but that being said, I probably have more misses than hits. So by the cost of the cards, I'm probably up, but I'm not up that high. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I love Jerry. I got 10 Jerry Jeudy cards in a box right next to me. Like I got LaVisca Chenault. I got a jersey of Chenault. So that I got behind me. I got a Darius Geis signed helmet that didn't work out. I got Ronald Jones, but I also got Garrett Wilson. You know what I mean? I got Quinn Ewers. So part of this stuff, like I love fantasy football. I love the NFL draft. I love to collect. Like it's just the NFL draft. Studying these prospects is a way for me to get in early, plant my flag. You do it too. And I respect the shit out of that. I respect it because you're passionate. And that's why we link up. That's why we understand each other. Like we plant our flag because we plant our flag based upon analysis and our own analysis. We don't listen to what people like. So when I'm reading Dane stuff, or I also go to the Draft Network. I like their work. Yeah. I'll pull up a player, but I will not read their analysis until I'm done.
Facts.
Then I'll read their analysis because I don't want to be swayed. You know what I mean?
I agree. I want to make my own decision before you say to look for this. I want to see it like a blank screen and break it down. And I'm new to this podcast world, this fantasy analyst. I plant my flag. I was wrong. Okay, I'll take the hit live. I was wrong. I'm still not gonna back the guy. He's not my dude. Marlon Mack got the axe. He got cut. Okay, I went out there and I backed him the whole time. I'm not sold on Pierce. He is the RB1. Obviously, there's nobody else there. But don't be that guy that just. Oh, I never said that. Eat it. Own your stuff. You know what I mean? If you're passionate, I'm passionate about it. I'll take the hit. I take the hit every day with Pierce. I take the hit every day with Gardner Minshew. So I'll deal with it,
man. But when you're bold enough to come out, and then you don't rely on cop outs. You know, like there's people out there who something doesn't go their way and it's like cue the cop out. No, like it's just I didn't see it. You know, this is what I thought. This was my analysis. And that's the way it is. Like that's the stuff I want to hear. Those are the people that when I see that from others, you know, I can buy that. You know, because we're ultimately there's so many people I don't know personally, but like I'm buying what you're selling or I'm moving on. One or the other. And I can see right through that shit. But dude, remember Bishop Sankey? Dude, we all love Bishop Sankey. You know, dude, I'm probably 60% misses. 60 to that might even be more like beneficial. I might be 70% misses. But when I hit, I love it.
Right.
It keeps me coming back.
And that's what I said. I said today on Twitter to somebody who made a comment about PSN. I'd be like, all right, I was wrong, but for every last fourth rounder hit the start was Marlon Mack in 2017, mind you. All right. For every fourth rounder hits, there's 265 that miss. You know what I mean? So
right.
I was wrong. I'll eat it.
I put a lot of weight into the Senior Bowl, and the writing started to be on the wall a little bit with him. That's why I started, you know, people that I respect, you know, I'm telling you this year when we go down there, because we're going to be down there, what we see and what we hear, that's the stuff like, all right, you know, that's where I found out about Kareem Hunt. Like I knew that dude was coming out of Toledo. I knew he could play. Cooper Kupp, you know, and I know I'm not saying Pierce is not in the same category as those, but that's where I found out about those guys because those guys were putting the world on notice, you know?
Yeah. You know what's crazy is Malik Willis put the world on notice in the Senior Bowl too, and he dropped in the draft.
Yeah. But now look, I mean, I saw Jim Nagy the other night. Man, I wish I had his tweet pulled up, but he was saying something about Willis and the fact that he dropped and like, can't believe it because everything he saw him do, he's doing. You know?
But he also said that he saw development in his cadence on the line in such a short time and his patience to not just take off. So he's growing, you know?
Yeah.
The athleticism is there. You can't deny it.
Yeah. And the pressure isn't. Same with Howell. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I was nervous about Howell, and that's another guy John Laub loved. Laub loved the Gridiron Scholar, loved Howell. There's no pressure on him, dude. There is absolutely zero pressure, and he's got Carson Wentz in front of him. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something from Sam Howell this year.
So I forget. I want to give credit.
And I see Shay in there. Shay, we're going to get you on here soon. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I see that. We're going to have to chat. We'll get you on at some point soon. But go ahead.
Yes. I had Austin on from Canton to Campus Canton last week on P2P, and he said that there's a very good chance that Howell could be the best quarterback drafted in this draft.
So the Gridiron Scott. Wait. You're saying this last year's class?
Yeah, this class that was just drafted, like Kenny Pickett and Corral. That how could be the best quarterback and be the first one to start.
I wouldn't be shocked. And the Gridiron Scholar, dude, where he's going to be shouting from the rooftops when that happens. That was his guy.
How much pressure is on Wentz, do you think? Because the kid balled out in the preseason.
I think a lot. And I think Wentz feels it. Wentz wakes up and like looks over his shoulder.
You see that interview?
No.
Not to like change it. So this dude got he's literally like he credentialed, he's certified, got credentials to go interview Wentz, and he literally was asking him like, all right, dude, like they didn't want you in Philly. They didn't want you in Indy. Do you feel like this is your last chance to be a starting quarterback? Literally like ripping this dude apart in an interview. And he did a great job. Like, but the dude got like kicked off. Like the Commanders like denied his access to, it was, he got ripped on Twitter and social media for like 3 or 4 days about it. But like, he says, like, I just don't really look at that. Any quarterback that says that they don't listen to it, like even Tom Brady said he didn't listen to it, he was annoying, they listen to it.
Yeah.
And it eats them up. Mm-hmm. And it was very adamant in Indy the last 4 weeks of the year because he fell apart in that Jacksonville game.
Yeah. Terrible. Justin's in the private chat said he messaged us guys about who he should draft. So I'm wondering if he wants us to, if he's going to ask us, I don't know if he's on the clock. There's a draft. Now he's shaking his head. So maybe I misinterpreted him. All right. But Justin also said he had a team that was named Sankey Legs. Which,
oh, my Lord.
I love it. Well, Nino, man, we could probably talk all evening about this stuff. I want to save some stuff, but make sure you're checking out toiletstotitles.com because over the next few weeks, you will start to see our draft content. And then within the next few months, you'll start to see our big boards, and then you'll start to see our mock drafts. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have you covered top to bottom. Absolutely top to bottom. Go check out our Twitter handle at Toilets to Titles, which Nino is absolutely crushing. He's running our social media. If you check out Toilets to Titles Twitter handle, you will be able to see our in-season show schedule, which like compared to last year, like last year, I thought we had a lot going on. This year, man, dude, we got Monday nights right after Monday Night Football. If you're Patreon, you get the Monday Night Football episode. You get the waiver wire episode. If you're not Patreon, then Monday nights are open for you. But Tuesday nights, we got Toilets to Titles, which is this show, followed by Head-to-Head IDP with Jared. Sometime Nino's on there. Russ is on there. Wednesday nights at 8:30 a.m. And Wednesday morning, 8:30 a.m. We got Down in the Dynasty because our boys down in Australia, they're ahead of us. All right. 6:30 a.m. 8 p.m. we got Joe Knows talking about the NFL, recapping and previewing next week. 10:30 p.m. we got Dollars to Deuces, which is our gambling show. Thursday night, 7:45 up until kickoff. We got Dash of DFS, which is our DFS show. Friday nights, 8:30 p.m. Nino and Jared doing P2P, which are talking college football. And then Sunday morning, we wrap it all up with a bow, 10:30 a.m. with the Blitz. So you're going to want to be subscribed to the YouTube channel because on the Blitz, they answer all your start-sit questions up until kickoff usually. If there's not a big crowd in there, they'll cut it at 11:30, but I think they go up to 12, 12:30, especially with more questions in there. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay with us. Check out toiletstotitles.com. Get on the Patreon. Join our Discord chat. Get those waiver wire episodes so we can interact throughout the season. We can help each other win some fantasy football championships, some gold, some rings, some belts. Nino, go ahead, my man.
Well, we got a big guy on Friday. Your buddy is coming on, Trevor.
Oh yeah, Trevor Sigma is
P2P.
going to be on. Yes, and that is from the Draft Network, which
Yes.
that's the other way. So I got 4 windows pulled up from theathletic.com, and I got 2 windows pulled up from the Draft Network. So Trevor's on there.
We'll be talking week 1 college football, AP top 25, and we'll be highlighting a couple of those games, and we're going to see if Trevor wants to give us some of his picks. Me and Jared will give picks, and he can just break them down.
What's the game you're most excited to see this week? One. You got to give me one.
Well, backyard brawl. I'm fired up because it's the first one, but I want to see Georgia, Oregon. Give me Georgia, Oregon.
All right.
I
love it. I love it, man. I still remember when LSU played Oregon to open the season. Tyrann Mathieu, I think it was his sophomore year. He had like 3 touchdowns, punt return for a touchdown, interception for a touchdown. And then he stripped the punt returner, picked up the fumble and ran it in for a touchdown. That dude should have won the Heisman.
That was the creation of the Honey Badger. That game created the Honey Badger.
He should have. It's a shame he didn't win the Heisman. It's an atrocity for what he did. Electrifying.
Yeah, it was Ed Reedish in the NFL, but in college. You know, Ed Reed wasn't that in college.
Right.
Because everybody on the U was just incredible.
He didn't have to be.
He didn't have to be. Well, the Honey Badger was insane, man.
Right. Yeah. All right. Hell yeah. All right. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for joining. And then Dane, who's not on right now. Dane, we appreciate you coming on. Justin, who's in the background, pushing all the buttons and making sure we kind of look good. We appreciate you as well. We'll wrap this thing up and we'll catch you all next week for the first episode of the regular season. We have finally arrived. See you all then.